Episode 1 begins with a scene where a female student is walking through the school hallway, and she is respected by other female students. A prologue is delivered, with a background showing some students holding their respective swords, stating that as humans, they possess 4 behaviors: virtue, honesty, politeness, and wisdom. By respecting each of these, they are the ones who protect it all, as swords that cleave through inhumanity. The scene shifts to the school gate. A male student enters the school carrying his bag. While walking, he expresses his hope for a peaceful life this time. Elsewhere, 5 sword-wielding female students gather in a room. There's a black-haired girl named Rin Onigawara, a blonde-haired girl named Mary Kikakuju, a green-haired girl named Satori Tamaba, a small girl who looks like a little girl with blonde hair named Warabi Hanasaka, and a small silver-haired girl who always keeps her eyes closed named Tsukuyo Inaba. They are the supreme 5 swords at the school, and they have a special reason to hold a meeting. Rin says there's a new enemy, a male student who just transferred to the school. Mary explains that he was expelled from his previous school for causing chaos. In addition to constantly causing trouble, he also sent 40 people to the hospital. It is suspected that he has martial arts skills, and if he uses them barehanded, he's quite formidable. Warabe remarks that even though he looks impressive, he is no match for them, the Supreme 5 Swords. Warabai has a pet bear that always follows her, appearing fierce but also sometimes cute and endearing. As they discuss, a female student named Kirukuru Amu arrives. Elsewhere, the transfer student, Namura Fudo, is shocked when he enters the school as all the girls there are carrying weapons. He is even more surprised when a large but feminine-looking person approaches him. The person gazes at him, and Namura realizes that he is the new kid. Startled, Namura says he didn't expect a walking Buddha statue in the school. Of course, the person is angered and reminds Namura to dress like him too. The person is named Mashiko Derakusuo. He explains that all the boys in the school look like him. Nomura says the school is strange, but as long as he can be free, there's no problem. Nomura doesn't want to look like that because he loves freedom and tranquility. He says he's tired of causing trouble like before, imagining himself lying defeated by someone. Back in the meeting room, Amu warns the Supreme 5 Swords. Mary is not pleased with Amu's bossy attitude. Amu states that she has fought Nomura before. In the meeting, Rin declares that she will face him because Namura will be in her class. She says she will defeat Namura and Amu, who is acting arrogantly. Amu then reminds Rin to be careful of the spirit bullet. Rin, with her team, heads to the classroom. Nomura, who has just left the teacher's room, is also on his way to his class. As he opens the classroom door, Rin and her team are already waiting for him in front of the door, staring sharply at him. Rin and her classmates cornered Nomura against the wall. All the female students there were holding their weapons, pointing them at Namura. Rin stated that as one of the Supreme 5 Swords, she would put an end to Nomura's behavior. Naturally, Namura was confused. What had he done wrong? Why was he suddenly treated this way? Nomura also mentioned that he was puzzled by the fact that the guys there dressed like girls. He admitted that he didn't know what the Supreme 5 Swords were. One of the girls then explained that the Supreme 5 Swords were responsible for protecting all the girls in the school. You see, Aichi School was originally an all-girls school, but since the merger, many girls had become frightened by the boys. That's why the girls started using weapons, so 5 of them were allowed to carry swords to safeguard the school. Consequently, due to their presence, the school became a place for delinquents to be reformed. In short, students who frequently caused trouble and were expelled from their previous schools were educated there and transformed for the better. That was the true mission of the Supreme 5 Swords in the school. Rin added that troublemakers like Nomura wouldn't be feared in the school as long as the Supreme 5 Swords were there. In a corner of the room, Mashikodera thought to himself that there was only one thing a guy could do to survive there, which was to abandon their male identity and live as a girl. Nomura drew the conclusion that they were afraid of the power above them. He also asked Rin if she would still fight him now that he was unarmed. Rin said that she herself would execute Namura. Alternatively, he could surrender and obey her orders. Rin offered him a weapon, but Namura just wanted a microphone to cry for help. Rin underestimated Namura, who wasn't as formidable as she had initially thought. Rin gave Namura 2 choices, to obey her orders or leave the school. Namura responded that he had a clear answer. He rejected all the options. Nomura said that it was his freedom. Rin firmly stated that before the end of the first class, she would put an end to his behavior. Nomura seemed resigned and averted his gaze, but then he swiftly moved to hide beneath one of the girl's skirts. He promptly moved to the window, preparing to jump out of the classroom. Rin asked where he was going. Nomura answered, "Isn't he free now?" He would be back before the next bell rang. Rin knew that Namura was just trying to buy time. Nonchalantly, Namura pointed at one of the girls and said her underwear was purple. As all eyes turned to the girl, Namura jumped out of the classroom. Master Kodera, watching Namura run out of the class, thought that the reason he did all of that was because Namura cherished his freedom too much. However, freedom and tranquility weren't easy to come by, especially for those at that school. It turns out Rin chased after Nomura. Tsukuyo, who was inside the classroom, asked Nono to open the window. Nono opened the window, saying that it was a bit hot outside, so she hoped some fresh air would come in. Tsukuyo, always with her eyes closed, mentioned that she just wanted to hear the sounds. Outside the room, Rin swung her sword. Although Namura managed to evade it, Rin successfully cut the tie Nomura was wearing. Nono, seeing the fight from the window, was surprised to witness Rin in combat. She immediately left the classroom, even though it was still during class. Nomura could only avoid Rin's attacks, planning to make Rin lose her balance. Rin stopped her attack and commented that Nomura's lower body was quite strong, and his leg movements were impressive. Rin noticed that Namura had some basic martial arts skills, and he must have practiced a lot. Nomura then recalled a time when he was in a forest practicing with someone. Nomura also complimented Rin, saying that even with her small hands, she could swing the sword effortlessly, and her sword swings were quite imposing. Nomura also mentioned that he liked muscular women. Rin retorted that having too many muscles would hinder one's ability to breathe. Then Rin demonstrated a sword technique from the Kashima Shinden Jikishinkage school, which she referred to as mirrored breathing. Hearing this, Tsukuyo thought to herself that mirrored breathing was like when a foreign object enters the lungs, causing coughing and choking. The body would use all its muscles to force the foreign object out. Rin used that reaction. With every breath, she focused on strengthening her entire body and controlled her strength even more than before. By synchronizing the timing of her breathing and movements, Rin left no openings. No ordinary person could match her. From a distance, Hanasaka watched the fight and judged that Namura was doing quite well. Rin continued to attack Nomura, and Namura could only evade her attacks with his legs. Using various techniques, Rin managed to overwhelm Nomura, and her sword was dangerously close to his neck. Nomura stuck to his original plan, making Rin lose her balance. He attempted to kick Rin's front leg, but Namura failed. He had misjudged Rin's leg movement. Rin attacked Nomura again with a different technique. Nomura managed to avoid it, but unknowingly, Rin's sword had injured his face. Rin remarked that Nomura had miscalculated the length of her sword. Rin had shifted her grip on the sword, causing Nomura's prediction to be incorrect. As a result, the sword made contact with Nomura's face. While wiping the blood from his face, Namura now acknowledged that Rin was quite strong. Nomura reached into his pocket and pulled out a special glove for his hand. He put on the glove, saying that he would also use his secret weapon. Wearing a glove that was apparently resistant to sharp weapons, Namura parried all of Rin's attacks. From a distance, Hanasaka saw this and knew that Rin's sword strikes could break bones with just one blow. To avoid this, Namura blocked Rin's attacks with the back of his hand. Due to her short stature, Hanasaka had to stand on a chair to see out the window. Inside the classroom, it turned out that Hanasaka's bear was the one substituting for her to attend the lesson. The teacher was left utterly confused. Their duel had reached its climax, and the second bell for the next class was about to ring. Due to the relentless attacks, Namura found himself cornered against a tree, with no room to retreat. Rin thought this was to her advantage. With lightning-fast movements, Rin continued to attack Nomura relentlessly, while Namura could only defend himself with his hands. Nomura realized that Rin had to step back to catch her breath, which was her weakness. Rin also knew that Namura was waiting for that opportunity, so she wanted to finish him off before that happened. Nomura's hand was no longer strong enough to defend against Rin's sword attacks, and he slightly lowered his body. When Rin was catching her breath, Namura avoided her attack and touched her right abdomen with his hand. Rin thought that Namura had lost his balance, so she held her stomach while bowing down. Rin was ready to lift her sword to attack Nomura again when Namura said he had a pistol, and a sword could never defeat a pistol. Nomura performed his special technique, channeling all his energy into his right hand and sent Rin flying. Naturally, everyone who saw it was shocked. Namura said that it was a secret sword technique that had failed, and he had turned it into a special technique of his own. He didn't have a name for the technique. Rin, with the little strength she had left, tried to retrieve her sword, but was blocked by Namura, as well as her hand's reach. Namura continued to speak, saying that he named the technique. Before Namura could finish his sentence, Rin said, "Spirit Bullet." Namura was surprised that Rin knew the name of his technique and immediately pushed Rin to the ground, with Namura on top of her. From a distance, Nono, who wanted to help Rin, ran and hit Namura directly behind his head. Namura fell forward and accidentally kissed Rin on the lips. Rin's face turned red, causing her mask to crack on one side. Nomura leaped backward and blamed Nono for it. Nono didn't want to take the blame and said it was Nomura's fault. As they argued and blamed each other, Rin got up, holding her sword, her body trembling. Rin looked very embarrassed and angry, saying that she would castrate Nomura. Nomura protested, claiming that those words shouldn't have come out of Rin's mouth. The school bell rang, and this episode came to an end.